Hi, everyone. Hope you're having a great week. It's a cloudy day in Las Vegas today, a little humid outside, and I'm feeling kind of tired today. So, good thing about working from home when you can work from home and you set up that kind of life, well, you can do whatever you want. Good thing is, I remembered about the webinar, and I always like to make sure I make the webinar on time. I see a few people here, some students I've had in the past, some I have it right now. Few, I have no clue who you are, but glad that you're here. And I'm sure the many other people are going to see this on the replay. We'll be checking this lesson out as well. Today's lesson is a continuation in the program where I'm giving weekly lessons about conducting qualitative research, what it is, how to do it. Today's going to be kind of the last session about really getting into the mechanics of it. Next week, I'll go into a little bit about your data collection plan and your data analysis plan, and then get out of the proposal stage, and then a couple of quick lessons on how to really put your dissertation together. So I just wanted to let you know that's kind of where we're going in the next couple of weeks. So that's what you got to listen to if you're going to check in and catch the lessons. If you're working on qualitative dissertation, whatever phase you're at, certainly the program that I'm going to provide and the lessons will be helpful to you. I see Thomas is checked in. He's here from Green Bay. How you doing, Thomas? Glad to have you here. I see other people are still checking in, which is common. I'm going to switch to a PowerPoint right now because I'm going to use a PowerPoint to guide the lesson. This is a lesson I've done before, so I do some information on qualitative research maybe once or twice a year for those who want to catch up on these lessons if you've never seen them before. Of course, if you've seen them before, then it's a repeat. But if you haven't seen it before, then this is new to you. So I'm going to get a PowerPoint going up here. If you can see that, somebody let me know it's there. I can see it, so I'm figuring it's working. Leah says, keep having to reconnect. Well, you may have too many browsers open, or perhaps you're on a really slow speed. Don't know, but everything's going work well here. A lot of times when people are on webinars, if you have too many different windows open simultaneously, your computer's trying to multitask between all the different programs you got open, and it's just like people. When you try to multitask too much, you don't work very well. Nothing seems to work. Nothing gets done to any level of quality. So maybe that's it. Or maybe you just got some bad weather happening and the signal's kind of trying to find you. So anyway, we're going to get right into today's lesson. Today's about writing and using interview scripts. This information has helped a lot of my students, and I'm sure it'll help you as well. A little bit about what I'm going to go through, a little bit of introduction. Some of you haven't heard this because you haven't been here before. I'll just do a little bit of an introduction about me and the program so you know what this is about, particularly for those of you who don't catch the live sessions and you only catch some of the recorded sessions, the replays. I'll go into what is an interview script, how to write one, and then using it, do a little reflective summary, and have some time for questions and answers. So I encourage you to save your questions to the end. I mean, you could type them in there now. I can always scroll back to them later. But if you got a question, type it in there. If I miss it later at the end, just say, hey, I asked it earlier, and I'll scroll back. So in introduction, I always consider these lessons that I do easy how-to lessons. All the time I've spent with my doctorate students, my mentees over the years, I kind of perfected this how-to approach to get things done. I've had phenomenal success with students getting done on time, or perhaps, earlier than they even thought they'd ever get done. And many of my students have won awards. One had this Dissertation of the Year award. Another one had the most requested dissertation in ProQuest in one year and the third most the next year. And so what I do is I put information together and I try to help people just truly understand how to make this easy, take the stress out of it. And I mentioned I've been doing this for quite some time. Since 1999, I've actually been mentoring doctorate students. I was very fortunate. I graduated in 1998, and there was a program starting at University of Phoenix, and they needed help right away. I was able to get in there and learn, and was able to start working as a committee member for a couple students first, and then became a chair later, as the process should go. It's hard to just become a chair right off the bat. You want to actually get some experience along the way. And literally that's what I provide here. My lessons learned since 1999. And I've been teaching full-time at some universities, and I have been teaching part-time as I do now. And as a part-time faculty, adjunct faculty, you're allowed to teach at a couple different universities. And, because it's not like it's a full-time gig. And so I've also been doing dissertation work at other universities, either as a visiting professor and as an international visiting professor overseas. And sometimes I've just been on committees like at Capella University. I have a lot of colleagues who went there and are going there. And from time to time, I get asked to be a committee member at a university I don't even belong to. And that's always cool to get that experience. And what I always tell students is, or that there are many different paths to the same destination. I have a certain way, and my way is not the best way all the time, and it's just one way. Your committee chair, committee members, or other faculty have different ways of getting to the same destination. I use the analogy of driving from New York to Las Vegas. I mean, you could drive many different routes to get here, but you would all get here whether you took a northern route or southerly route, whether you took a toll road, whether you took, back roads, so you can get to the same place going different ways. And research as much as the same is that, I can tell you how I have my mentees do it or what's worked well for me, but your committee chair or committee members may say, well, there's no need to do that. It's like today's lesson about scripts. You don't have to have a script. There's nothing that says you need to have a script, but I find that they help. They're helpful. And for my mentees, I don't give them a choice. I say, if you want me to be on your committee, you're going to do one. And that's just the way it is. There's some things that I just require because I think they need to learn that as a learning process. As a university, it is a learning exercise after all. And I'm just a little bit harsher, I guess, on students, or require more because I expect more of them. And I want quality work. And I always tell people, think like a researcher, and think like a researcher in the sense of you are going to be a researcher when you do your dissertation work. You may not be a professional researcher, but you can certainly become an academic researcher. So you have to learn the terminology. You have to learn the vocabulary. You have to understand first how to be a consumer of research before you can actually do research. And that's the reality of it. And the last item, I guess I kind of skipped about different programs, different expectations. Different universities have different expectations, and rightfully so, because they have different programs for different things and have different, visions and missions for their university that the dissertations are part of. So that's a little bit about the introduction, about me and who I am. If you want any information, just go to my website, or you can just email me or whatever you want. So what is an interview script? So it sounds pretty simple. What's a script? A script is, in this sense, is an important quality research tool. And I would say the emphasis is on important. And of course, it is a tool. There are many different tools we use. This happens to be one of them. Some of you might be doing data saturation. That's another tool. Some of you might do an analysis by Metaxas. I looked at as another tool. So all these different items are like tools. And the more tools you have, the better off you're prepared to use the right tool for the right job. But I think it's important in qualitative research, particularly for a person who is doing research for the first time. And I have this conversation with many people, and some people who go through our programs, they're from HR or they've done a lot of job interviews. And I can tell you, it's not the same. You may be doing great at doing job interviews, but I can tell you doing research is different. Because it is. The reality is that you're getting different information here in research. You want to get very narrow perspective, where a lot of times in an interview process for a position, people ask you, tell us about this, and you can go rambling on. Nobody really cares because they want to see how you act and react and judge you and assess you based on what you say, how you say it, your background, where those things make no difference whatsoever in qualitative research. It's an approach to reduce variation in data. And it reduces variation because let's just say you're going to interview 20 people. If you have a script, you'll say the same thing to every person the exact same way, not 19 different ways for 20 different people. Because believe me, after you start working with collecting data, after the first couple, your mind would have been shifted a little bit based on what you heard. Now, you may think, gee, I got 2 interviews done. I need to change the way I do my interviews. Well, that means that all those interviews after that second one is going to be done a little different, and it's going to have more variation. And if you change it after every 2 or 3 interviews, guess what? By the time you get to the last couple, they're nothing like the first ones, and the data will probably be completely different. So we want to make sure that there's no variation or reduce it as much as possible. And that is what an interview script does. Just like a process in an organization, the more variation, the less likely the product or service is going to be produced consistently. It's something that's not used enough. A lot of times when I'm a committee member, students complain, I don't want to do a script. I was like, well, I don't want to prove your work. How's that? It's kind of pretty easy. At that point, I can kind of make them do it if I want to. But it's not a tool a lot of faculty make students use. And I think this is unfortunate because I have found value in this script even when I work with clients. And when I work with clients, in some cases, the requirement to use a script is even more important because one, a client is paying me a lot of money, and what they're going to do with their data is actually make decisions on it. A lot of times with dissertation work, you get your dissertation done, nobody's ever going to read it but your family, and nothing's going to happen with it. It's just the reality of it. It's an academic exercise. Now, some of you, if it becomes part of your life's work, wouldn't you want it then to be the best it could be otherwise? So why not do the script? So just shake your head and say, okay, Dr. Rich, I get it. I'll use the script. Believe me, it's not going to take that much more time. Approach to earn approval sooner. How will you earn approval sooner? You'll get approval sooner because you will have provided evidence that you've thought this through for your data collection plan, that you have this script ready. You can have it in your proposal. People can look at it in an appendix and see exactly how you're going to collect data as part of your data collection plan. Wow, when you have that in there, people can see it. They can say, wow, this person's prepared. They know what they're doing, other than, I wonder how they're going to interview the people. Believe me, these kind of questions come up, and some of you will do an oral defense for your proposal. And if you don't have a script, you can certainly bet that you're going to get some questions on how you're going to collect data, how you're going to ensure the consistency of it. And it would not be uncommon for your proposal not to get approved by the university or committee members or your oral defense if you can't answer these kind of questions well. The good thing that will happen with all this information is that with such a script, you will find that your work will be better, it'll be more consistent, it'll be richer, and it'll be received better. I just got to notice that my computer says it wants to restart because I downloaded some goofy program in the background. So I hope I don't lose you. If I do, well, then I'll see you next week because I'm not going to come back online. But hopefully it won't shut down because I just said don't do it now. Back to the lesson. Reflects research expertise. Expertise that you know what you're doing, that there's a reason for the script. I always tell my students when they're writing chapter 3, when they talk about this, or when they write about the script, rather, that they indicate what a script is, what its purpose is, and how it's going to be applied in their research, and then give a copy of the script in the actual appendix. But it will reflect your expertise. Believe me, you need to build up an expertise in your research method and design. Writing an interview script. It's pretty easy. I mean, it may sound pretty basic, but I'll go over through some of the ideas just so you know what you should have on it. No, I'm not going to give you one to look at. You want to look at one? Go to one of my mentees' dissertations online and download ProQuest dissertations or somebody else's and see what is there. And then R&D it, right? R&D means what? Yeah, rip off and duplicate. Didn't say plagiarize, rip off and duplicate. How do you want to interview others? So as you're writing the script, how do you want to interview others? This is just a question. You want to sit in an office, you want to sit at Starbucks, how are you going to do this? In your script, think about the time when you first are going to meet them. Okay, and that's where your script starts with something as basic as, hi, I'm Rich Shuttler. I'm going to be doing this interview with you today. And it goes from that very point. I mean, everything's the exact same thing. Not one time, hi, I'm Rich Shuttler. Next time, hey, what's up, Bob? Come on in, man. We're going to do this interview. Let's sit here and get some coffee. I'll go through some questions real quick and you'll be out of here. That's not the way to do it. Won't work very well. Information on how to ensure consent. So you're going to have to get consent. Maybe you already had them sign it before they walked in the door. But however it is in this script, you want to have it after you introduce yourself. When you're getting ready to start, say, have you signed consent? Have you not signed consent? If not, then you want to have them sign it right there. Some people will provide the consent forms before the actual interview. So if you do that, just indicate, Bob, you signed a consent form yesterday and gave it to me. Here's a copy of it. Do you care to read it again? I'll go over it briefly so as a reminder so you know what to expect. That's how you want to have your script, to that kind of level. The consent is important, and it should be mentioned in the script one way or the other. Have some information in there in the script on confidentiality before you get into your interviews. Let them know how you're going to protect the data, how you're going to make sure their names are anonymous. Show them the interview script so they can see that there's going to be a coding for their name, that only you will have the coding information. This is just like a paragraph or so. Excuse me, I have to take a drink here. And no, it's not beer or wine this time. It's actually ISO tea. Drink the tea, lose the weight, and get in better shape. That's what I believe. So anyway, getting back to confidentiality, you want to make sure that people understand what confidentiality is and how it's being applied to them. Remember, these people are giving up their time. You may be putting them in a compromising situation if their names ever were released. Now, you wrote this already in Chapter 3 under the confidentiality paragraph or section. So all you have to do is kind of mimic it and cut and paste it, put it into your script. You don't have to go in detail, but you just need to help them understand and get a concurrence that they understand about consent and confidentiality before you move forward. Then you can put a little check in the box that say they've done that. Information about stopping. In the script, before you start doing the interview, let them know that they can stop at any time. If they stop at any time and don't want to continue on, that's fine. None of the information they have been given, that they've given to you to that point, will be used, because we don't use partial interviews, like we don't use partial Likert type surveys. So help them understand if they need to stop, if they have questions, how to just stop and say, I got a question about this. I don't feel comfortable answering this question, or I don't understand the question. Or, hey, I need to go take a break. I need to go grab a cup of coffee, or I need to use the restroom. Help them understand what they should do when they feel uncomfortable or they need to stop. And this is one thing I encourage you to keep in mind when you do interviews. Don't have your interviews last too long. If you have somebody that's going to be interviewed for more than an hour, you should reconsider that, because that's, in my mind, too much time. They're giving up their time to help you. Some of you are going to be doing it during a work day, maybe perhaps during a lunch break or on their off time. And, they're giving you their time as a gift. Don't abuse it. Try and keep it within an hour. This will also help you from getting to the point where people don't have to stop because they're tired or they got to catch the bus or something like that. Believe me, there's all sorts of different things that could happen. But you want to give information in your script before you get to the interview questions about what they need to do and why they might need to stop, and just how to do it best with you. Guidance on what happens after the interview. A lot of times people forget this, but before you get into the interview, tell them once the interview is completed, within 72 hours, you're going to get an email with a script that's been translated, and you will get the opportunity to review that transcript. If I don't hear from you within 72 hours after the review, the time I've sent that email, I will consider it as accepted. If I receive information from you within those 72 hours, then we will amend the transcript, and you'll get a copy of the new transcript to be able to verify it. This is exactly what you need to do to help them understand what's going to happen after an interview. That's with the script, but also let them know you're collecting data from 20 people. This is going to take a while to get it all put together. Once it's done, you're going to submit your work through your dissertation committee, and then your dissertation will be reviewed at the university process. This may take another 6 months. And let them know if they want a copy of your dissertation when done, that you'll provide it for them. And just let them know how their names, again, in this final product will be protected, and how nobody else will ever know who they are in regards to the questions that were asked of them. Have some sort of closing statement on that interview script as well. So when you're done with the questions, that it's, thank you very much. I appreciate your help, blah, 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 however you're going to close it, but they all get the same information. Let people know exactly what the expectations are in this script about what their role is, how the interview is going to go, the confidentiality about stopping, give them any guidance that you want them to help them to understand what's going to be done with your work. Because a lot of times people forget that. Say, oh, thanks for the interview. Thanks for the answers. I'll see you later, Bob. It's like, let them know exactly how their help is helping you to achieve your life goal of your doctorate degree, how it's going to help you to graduate, how it's going to help you to serve clients differently, or whatever it is that your work is significant in regards to. Now, using an interview script, different script for each interviewee. So if you have 20 people you're going to interview, just have 20 different copies. Have a new copy for every person that you go to interview, right? Because you're going to keep these, and it's important. You don't want to use the same script over and over and take goofy, scribbly notes all over it. You won't remember anything by the time you get to the fifth one. No names on the script. Only use a code. What you can decide what code you want to use. You might want to use A1, B2, A1 through A20. You may want to find some unique code that you want to give that only you and Maxwell Smart will be able to understand. Whatever it is, write the code, have there be some sort of matrix where you have all the people's names and the codes, again, that only you will see, because that way everybody is protected. Have the date, time, and location on the top of your script. I encourage you just to have, a place where you can write in, it's September 27th, 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, and maybe it's in the break room of the MGM Hotel for the employees or something like that. Wherever you're going to do it at, have that all there, because this will help you. Again, some people may say, well, did you do your interviews in the same location? You say, well, some of them I did, some of them I didn't. But also another thing, in the time, I encourage you to have there the time it started and the time it ended. Because I like to have my mentees say that, they conducted 20 interviews. The average time was 57 minutes. The shortest time was whatever. The longest time was whatever. And just help people understand the depth of your interviews. Believe me, this is the kind of details that helps your work be better than it would be otherwise. Most people, if they don't put the time, how long it took, they don't know. And there's just that piece of information that's lost. Keep in mind, the value of what you're doing may be to other people in different ways you don't even expect, such as if somebody wants to replicate your study, they might get an indication about how long it takes. You may have thought it may take an hour, but then when you look at your time and it took you, 90 minutes for each one, somebody may realize that there's a correlation between how you couldn't keep quiet and you kept rambling on, let the interviewees ramble on, and the weakness of your data at the end because you asked too many follow-up questions or you didn't help reel in the people during the interviews to stay focused on task. Show the script to the interviewees. I always encourage you to show them the script before and when you're done so that they see exactly what's on there. So don't put any notes on there and say, oh, Bob, he needed a shave today, or hey, he looks a mess. He looks like he's stressed out. Don't write that on the script, right? That's fine if you want to take some notes later for whatever purpose, but you want to make sure that you show them the script. I think the script is a document they'll feel comfortable with. Nothing should be secret. That's why I show them the script beforehand and say, this is where I'm going to take my notes. And you get a chance to see it when I'm done because it's all about them and them helping you. So help them to feel comfortable. You can take notes on the script. You can flip it over and write on the back of it. Most scripts end up being more than one page. You could have an extra page at the end. Take notes as you go through it. Let the person know as part of your script that during their presentation or their answering of your questions that you may be taking some notes. Now, some people will bring in a third party to sit there and run the recorder and do certain things so the person doing the interview, perhaps you, don't have to manage everything, allows you to take notes. So there's different things that could happen, but you know what? Normally, you doing the interview, you turning on the recorder is not a big deal. You turn on the recorder, you put it on the side. When it's done, you turn it off. But you might want to use your interview script for taking some notes. After each, scan and save a file. So you get interview scripts. Let's just say your script ends up being 3 pages long. At the end, when it's all done with, take each one of your scripts, then save it to an electronic file. Just scan it. Most of you probably have a scanner on your printer at home, if not at work, but scan it somehow and then save the file and just put it somewhere. Not that you need to do anything with it, but this becomes part of the archives in case you need it later. This way you can also destroy the paper copies if you have it electronically. So as soon as your dissertation is approved, you destroy the paper copies and you just keep the scanned files, and it helps reduce the paperwork that you have to save later. Put everything into a scanned file and just save them into one PDF later, or however many PDFs you have, put them in a certain file. It also allows, in case a committee member wants to see something, you never know what's going to happen. Or a university challenges your dissertation. They say, we want to see the scripts. Bam, you got an email. You just send it to them. Include in one as an appendix, one that has not been completed, needless to say. So in chapter 3, under data collection plan, where you relate to your interview script, just indicate how you're going to use the interview script, what it is, how it's going to be applied, and have it as an appendix so people can see it when your proposal is being approved and later in your dissertation. Again, remember, somebody might want to R&D your script. What are they going to do? They're going to rip off and duplicate your script. Yep, why not? Help them, just like you're taking things from everybody else. Yeah, you're stealing it, but that's all right. We won't tell anybody. Practice with someone first. I encourage you, before you do your first interview, practice with someone first, perhaps of the same population. Just ask one person, hey, I'm going to do this interview with you, and I'm going to do like a practice run. Help me to understand if I'm answering all your questions. You can do that. You don't have to collect the data. You can go through the practice with someone first. Even if you do this after your IRB approval is done, you can go through a practice interview and then just throw that one away. It's okay. You don't have to keep everything. You don't have to do interviews with everybody the same way, in the sense that everybody you talk to has to count. Some people actually do 1 or 2 interviews, full interviews first, to see how it goes. They'll throw those away, and then they'll start like with the third person interviewed and go from 20 from that point. This way they feel more comfortable. They practiced the recording, they practiced all the questions, they did a couple follow-up questions, and this way they developed a skill set first before they collect the actual data. There's nothing wrong with doing this. The problem is most students are too lazy, don't want to waste time, and they just want to get into it and get it done. Well, you know what? Depends on what you're going to do with this at the end. I can tell you, the more time you put into preparing, same as for those of you who do the field test that I described about, you do the script, you do the practice runs, you get super prepared, you're going to end up with a better product at the end. There's no magic in this. Do the time, produce something that's really cool. Reflective summary, basically I gave you a little introduction about who I am, what I do, and give it to you why I do it. Maybe you want to know that. I do this as part of my brain tithing. I'm on a mission with my vision to train, educate 1 million people that I started in 2010 till 2020 ends. So I got about 3.5 more years to go, and so I'm working away. So everybody who's registered here gets put in there automatically on that count. What is an interview script? It's just a tool to help produce less variation in the outcome when you do your interviews. Gave you some ideas on how to write an interview script. If you've never seen one and you thought this was too vague, again, go download a dissertation from somebody at your university or one of my mentees who have used it. Go ahead and borrow it, create your own out of it. Using the interview script, I gave you some ideas about how to use it, from the beginning to the end. Share it with the people that you're going to interview, and just let them see that this is a tool that's helping you to collect their interview data in the best possible way, and it's going to help you in the long run. If you got any questions, now's a good time to put them in there. A little quote there: reduce variation in your interviews and get more consistent data. That's what we want, more consistent data. So I'm going to get rid of this PowerPoint presentation, toss that to the side. And here I am back with my glasses on today. I didn't go anywhere, so I don't really want to put my contacts in. So let's see, we got a couple things. Harry just indicated where he's at. Harry by the way, Harry has been with the program for a while. He just had his proposal approved, the URR at his university. It was the university reviewer approved it. And I believe, Harry, you're doing your oral defense tomorrow. Congratulations. I'm on a committee for somebody that's doing oral defense as well. So I've got a 10 a.m. oral defense appointment tomorrow. Let's see. Leah says, all this is required in the IFC that is submitted to IRB. I'm not sure what IFC is. I think that's a statement you give. It says all this is required. So whatever that is, then good. If that's required, all the better. Some universities don't require it, and I think they should. Edward says, thanks for this section. You're welcome, Edward. Hopefully you gained some insights on it. If you found other people who could value this as well, find value in this, you can always send them the link to the registration. They can register and still watch the replay of the webinar later. Oh, Leah says that's an informed consent form. Okay, great. Don says, what if I just decide to add in a script, but the proposal is already in the URR? Well, that's okay. You can always add things in there. That's going to make your work better. You may find, hopefully, you'll find that your work will be approved by the URR. But if for some reason it's not, you can certainly add it in. And anything you do after URR approval, that's fine. The only thing is, if it changes your study, if you do something completely different, but by improving your work, the way you're going to collect the data, there's nothing wrong with it. I think most university people would be happy to see you adding more value to your work. So, my other point would be is, when in doubt, check with your committee chair and see what he or she says in that guidance. Again, because it's not required, your chair may say, you know what, when you get your approval, if it comes back right away, why mess with it? Just move on and do it. Now, a lot of people could also use a script in an informal way, have it, and then never mention it when you do your chapter 4 and revise chapter 3. So there's tools that we use. There's things that we'll do along the way when we collect our data that may never actually appear in our dissertation anyway. So that's just another option. Ebenezer, how are you? He says, Dr. Rich, this is another opportunity to say thank you again. I am motivated. Excellent. It's always good to have people motivated, self-motivated, because if you're looking for somebody to try and inspire you, it's probably not going to happen. We look for self-motivation, and if people have that, then that's great. I never believe I motivated anybody or anybody's ever motivated me, but I'm hoping these lessons will be somewhat of an inspiration to you to do more work and produce an even better dissertation. So it brings great credit upon you and your university, and particularly for those who are going to do this as part of your life work. You know what? You're going to learn more. You're going to do better. When I did my doctorate work, I never thought I would do what I do now, this kind of mentoring and teaching of doctorate students. Probably none of my committee members ever thought I would either. But you never know what's going to happen. So I'm very glad when I did my work, I did a mixed method study because I had to learn, because I never did one before, and I didn't want to do a mixed method study, but my committee pushed me that way. And, I followed their nudge, not necessarily easily, but when I did, I learned more, and now I can help other people do it. So you know what? The more you can do, the more you know, like anything else, the better you're going to be in the long run. Nothing that I'm prescribing with this script or doing a field test or doing much of any of these other things really add much value. I always I had one student that says, I don't want to do a field test. That's going to take me 2 weeks longer. I'm like, well, what happened for the last year during those couple of weeks when you didn't do anything because you got lazy, or the days you didn't want to work? How long do you think that delayed your program? And then that person kind of said, okay, I get it, Dr. Rich, I'll do it. So just be careful, and what you want to learn. When you enrolled in your program, did you just want to do the bare minimum, or did you want to learn something and truly walk out the door with not only that degree, but that education? So I'm done with that soapbox. I put the offer up there in case any of you are interested in this, because oral defense is happening for many people right now. If you want to click on that oral defense, I got a group of lessons there. I mean, what, $20? You can't go wrong. I give information exactly how to set up your day, have this, like your computer set up like you're in an airplane cockpit, what paperwork you need, how to have everything done, kind of questions you can expect to be asked in your oral defense, what kind of way that the committee members want you to answer the questions. I take all the stress out of it. Matter of fact, the lady who's doing the oral defense tomorrow, we had a conversation today, and she's stressed out like most of you are. It's like, don't be, just chill out, relax, set things up. Your work, you'll be fine. And that's what I give in this, how to prepare for and pass your oral defense. 12 lessons about how to just be super comfortable, get prepared, and have a great academic discourse. You know what? There's no reason to be nervous by that point, even at the proposal stage. If you know what's in your work, now you just got to prepare and get your mindset right. The problem is most universities don't give you the expectations of what's going to happen. They make it this scary thing. Matter of fact, when I wrote those lessons and put them together and offered them, a lot of my faculty peers said, don't tell them that. This is going to take all the surprise out of it and take some of the stress away. I was like, you know what? I want to take all the stress away from them. I want them to go into it feeling comfortable, totally ready, and have a great time. I want people to graduate when they get done with their program to feel good about what they did, not that they had to jump through 6 different hoops, 6 different ways. So, you know, for 20 bucks, you'll be able to understand how to pass oral defense at the proposal stage and the dissertation stage. And you'll be just more prepared. You know, chance favors the prepared. 20 bucks, give me a break. Go buy it. Be quiet. You get better. You get more than that for my time of just doing the webinars. You know, if I start charging for the webinars, you know, maybe I ought to do that. No. Anyway, so that's enough of it for today. I want to say thanks a lot for being here. I don't know if I got any more questions here. I'll check one more time. Got a couple. Lashandra says, Dr. Rich, what should you do if you fail to ask 3 of 10 of the interviews question from the script? What should you do if you fail to ask 3 out of 10 interviewees questions? Well, I wouldn't fail to ask questions, but if you fail to ask 3 of the 10 interviewees one of the questions, then you know what? That's going to be something for you to talk about with your chair. I would say, you know what? Take those 3 and throw them away. They don't count because they were incomplete interviews. You know, other people may say, well, you know, take the question out from everybody so that it wasn't there. I believe in consistency. So if you had made a mistake for whatever reason, and if you failed to ask 3 of the 10 of the interviewees all the questions in the script, my recommendation is take those 3, don't even count them, go interview 3 other people, get everybody to answer all the questions the same way. I get it. Sometimes you get caught in conversations. You know, there's a lot of different things that happen and people don't realize and they don't ever plan on it. And that's why we have the data collection plan. And then we have later, after you do the data collection plan, we look at what was proposed and what actually happened. So you know what? You know, that's my recommendation. If you're one of my mentees, I'd probably say, duh. But after that, it's like, okay, well, now what do we do? It is what it is. Take the 3 out and go get 3 more. That's what my answer would be as a chair. So hope that helps. Dawn says, thank you, getting there. Yes, you are. Congratulations. I look forward to hearing from you with great feedback that your URR passed your work and you're on your way to your oral defense. It's only one question omitted from the script. No, it's only one question omitted from the script. If you ask them all the same questions, that's fine. If it's just a question that wasn't in the script, then that doesn't matter. But if it's one question, and maybe I just don't truly understand what you're trying to tell me, but if you fail to ask one question of 3 people as compared to the other 7, as far as I'm concerned, the interviews were incomplete. So I would say again, and if that's the case, throw out those 3 interviews, go find 3 other people. 10 interviews, I'm not sure what happened to the rest of them, because more than likely you may need more than 10 interviews, but depends on what kind of research you're doing. So I hope that helps. If not, again, you know, you can always send me an email, call me, maybe that will help. Or again, you know, follow the guidance of your dissertation chair. But I do believe, you know, if everybody doesn't get all the questions the same way, particularly, but if they all don't get all the exact same questions, like if you have 8 interview questions and a couple people only had 7 while the rest of them had 8, then it's a mistake. You just forget about the ones that didn't do the full survey or interviews. That'd be my answer. Take care, everybody. Have a great week, and I will see you next week. If you want to check out what's going on in Facebook, I got a group called Taking the B Out of ABD. Bye.